Now that we have established the theory behind external costs and the importance of not only quantifying but also pricing them, let's explore how this can change our perspective here in MENA and GCC regions. By the way, for those who missed the previous videos with the step-by-step explanation of the externalities and how to quantify and price them, please follow the links and have a look. There are two main environmental and social transformations that can occur if we implement the principle of externalities accounting, which is also known as the economics of welfare. First, current practices will naturally be replaced by more socially and environmentally responsible ones, and this transformation will happen with minimal resistance and without the need for extensive control mechanisms. Second, research and development activities related to innovative, sustainable solutions that promote net zero lifestyle will receive a significant boost, leading to the creation of new products and services to meet the new growing demand. As usual, I will pick a practical example to project these transformations on. And this example will be the environmental topic of the day here in the GCC, the monstrous plastic bag that has to be exterminated for the good of the world. As we all know, there is a growing movement to eliminate plastic bags from our lives. And I can conclude the methods pursued to achieve this target by sorting them in two groups. The first one aims at making the plastic bag price intolerably high, while the second targets making us feel ashamed for using it. Nevertheless, we have not been very successful so far, to speak the least, and we will explore together now why. But here is how I would like to start. As my videos are primarily viewed in the GCC and MENA, I would like to conclude a quick test by asking one simple question here that you can answer in the comments. Do you know the price of a grocery bag in your country? Interesting, isn't it? The fact that most of the people living in our region cannot remember the price of a grocery bag highlights how insignificant and inexpensive it is for the end user. Do you agree? But is it really so cheap to produce and deliver? There are two logical methods to eliminate the plastic bag or any other product from our daily life. The first is by eliminating the need for the bags altogether. And the second is by introducing alternative products that serve the same purpose. If the first option is not possible because you still need a convenient container for your groceries, the second option seems more suitable to explore. However, how likely we are to use an alternative that is 10 or even 50 times more expensive? I doubt any of us would willingly spend that much unless this is definitely not going to happen. But the continuous enforcement to use alternatives through legislative force and illogical taxation will also lead to a dead end. The same applies for endless awareness sessions and environmental campaigns. So, how do we make the transformation happen flawlessly? In my opinion, it is the implementation of the welfare economics that takes into account the social and environmental costs along with the traditional financial one. To learn how this can be done for the plastic bag, please stay with me. The starting point is to understand the production life cycle of the plastic bag. This cycle begins with the oil and gas field, where fossil fuel is extracted in the form of crude oil or natural gas. Both serve as raw material in the petrochemical industry, which is a very sophisticated technology where ethylene gas is produced, then sent to the third and final stage, the formation of the polymer and the production of the thin polyethylene film using either extrusion or blowing techniques. Currently, accountants follow the traditional practice of summing up the costs of these stages, and as these stages usually are located at long distances from each other, and in most of the time are built in different countries, there is a complicated logistics involved between these stages. This cost of the logistics is added up to the final cost of the plastic bag, and finally, the cost may look like this. But according to PIGO, ERS, and NIS, each of these stages also expose third parties to social and environmental externalities, which must be taken into consideration. Therefore, the true welfare cost of a plastic bag would look more like this. But to be able to make better estimates, a more thorough examination by creating ERS and NIS material flow diagram for each of the mentioned stages is required. So, here we go. The fossil fuel extraction is a complex process that requires heavy equipment, water, chemicals, and other resources. It also consumes a significant amount of energy, primarily from the fossil fuel themselves that are produced in the processing phase. The end user in this case is the petrochemical factory. By implementing ERS and NIS material flow diagrams for this stage, we can identify the externalities from both the energy and the processing phases. Then we add the ones related to the logistics as well, and finally include the financial costs of the phases and the logistics to reveal the welfare price of oil and gas. They should never fall below to cover both financial and social costs. The next stage involves the production of ethylene from fossil fuel in the petrochemical complexes. This is a series of technological processes where the raw material from the previous stage undergoes various treatment steps using different chemicals, minerals, and water. The material is then subjected to thermal and chemical process called cracking, which also requires energy, minerals, and chemicals. The end result is several types of fuels and materials, with ethylene gas being the one of interest. By incorporating the externalities map of this stage, we can see that in addition to the traditional externalities related to energy conversion phase, the materials processing phase produces wastewater, oil sludge, spent catalysts, and various chemicals. There are also gaseous emissions, drilling fluids, and sand mud. The logistics involved in this stage also contribute to the social and environmental costs. Adding up both financial and external costs reveal the total welfare cost of ethylene. Now, ethylene is the raw material required for the formation process. It is converted from a monomer to more complex polymer in the so-called polymerization process. This is where the molecules of ethylene are connected to form a long chain, resulting in a solid material in the form of granules. This phase also requires energy, mainly thermal, and uses other chemicals as catalysts, chain transfer agents, and oxidants. And as a result, there are many social and environmental externalities generated during this stage, alongside with the ones traditionally produced by the energy conversion phase, like water, catalysts, and solvent residues, heat losses, and emissions. By following the same logic, we first include all the financial costs of the material flow phases, add the financial cost of the logistics, then summon all the external costs to get the total welfare cost of producing polyethylene. The final stage of the grocery bag production life cycle is a thermomechanical process that consumes a lot of electricity and heat. It also involves the use of minerals and chemical additives and requires water for cooling purposes. This stage produces either long film through extrusion or carrying bags directly using blowing machines. As expected, there are externalities associated with these phases and with the logistics as well, and adding them to the financial cost reveals the total welfare cost of this final stage. Now, let's examine the material flow diagram of the production of a grocery bag from the new perspective. So each stage of the production involves a combination of standard phases and logistics, each of which incur both financial and external costs. By taking into account all of these costs, we can see how the welfare cost of a grocery bag is significantly higher than the traditional financial one. However, even after internalizing all these external costs of the analyzed stages, we still have not fully captured the true welfare cost of a grocery bag, and here is why. As mentioned previously, each stage in the production life cycle of a grocery bag requires minerals, water, chemicals, and other resources, and these resources have undergone their own material processing phases. Traditional costing methods only consider the financial costs of these resources in the final price of the grocery bag. But by applying the same principle of including welfare costs throughout the supply chain, we can logically expect an additional increase in the cost of the grocery bag. Furthermore, the energy conversion phases in all these stages of the plastic bag production have externalities related not only to the energy itself, but to equipment manufacturing and infrastructure provision of the power stations, heat generators, and others. The logistics involved in the production of the grocery bag also rely on equipment and machines that exist as a result of other complex material processing and energy conversion phases, which also incur external costs. In other words, the closer we get to the true welfare cost of a grocery bag, the higher this cost becomes. So, what is the real cost of plastic grocery bag? The main takeaway of this video for you is to understand the lack of perspectiveness of the narrow-minded approach of trying to replace a product by introducing another if these two products play in different leagues, especially if the end result of the plastic bag being replaced is the protection of the environment. Unless we embrace the full cost of both plastic bag and the alternative, the plastic bag will always come out a winner of any competition. And this is exactly why most of the sustainable initiatives get stuck at the early stage of development, as they are compared to existing environmentally and socially irresponsible products, which are the plastic bags.